In this video, I want to talk to you about 7 reframes, about things you might have heard as a child and that you took on as a belief that are just not true. I am Pauline and I am so happy you are here because, especially as a fearful avoidant, you probably have a lot of beliefs that just don't serve you, that are not true, that are not about who you are, but that have so much more to do with your parents or caregivers and the way you mirrored back to them what they had difficulty with in themselves. So, what we're going to do is go through 7 of these reframes because I don't want you to take this with you for the rest of your life and believe that something is wrong with you, um, and struggle needlessly because you genuinely think these things. The first being, maybe as a child you've heard that you were lazy. Doesn't matter the context. Doesn't matter what happened. It could be that you think, well, I genuinely was lazy. I just didn't do anything. Anything a child hears between ages 0 to 7, it will take on as an identity. And so it will act out that identity. So it doesn't matter if you look back and think, oh, but I really was lazy, so my parents were right. They weren't. They really, really weren't. Um, and the reframe herein, I've heard this a lot when I was a child, and I remember so vividly that first of all, I made myself so wrong for being lazy. I thought I am lazy. Um, there's nothing I can do about that, but that's really wrong. That will mean I will never get like a job that I love. Everything will feel like a struggle because I'm just lazy. So it really did not serve me. And I really remember vividly the moment that I read an interview with Bill Gates, who said, I usually only hire people who are lazy because they are the most efficient. And I was like, what? Somebody sees something good in the thing I've been making myself so wrong for. And it's true, it was true, and it still is true that I love efficiency and I will always find a more efficient way. I just hate doing things that don't have to be done. And that's a really good trait. That's a really good trait to have. But it was interpreted as being lazy by your parents or caregivers because it didn't convenience them. It doesn't say anything about you. It really does not say anything about you. So if you have been called lazy, it might very well be that you are efficient, that you will always find efficient, more efficient ways. And that, my friend, will bring you so much in your life, in your work, in your business. If you have your own business, entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, every single one of them is efficient to a fault because otherwise you can't build a company and scale it. So it's actually a really good trait to have. Isn't that awesome? Let me know in the comments if you know or have heard this particular one, being lazy, and the the fact that you might actually be very efficient. I want to know what it does. So the second one is messy. Being messy. I think a lot of children hear this, that they are messy and they should clean up their room. But what a lot of parents, I think, don't realize is, does that child know how to organize and how to clean up their room? It's so interesting that a lot of parents believe that things um, are implicit. Like, you know how to clean up your room. Just pick up toys and put them in the spot they belong. Does that child know where they belong? Does that child know how to organize and sort? Can it find a distinction between two types of toys, knowing where they both have to go? Just because you as a parent think that it's very obvious and clear that cleaning up your room means picking up all the toys and the end result is it looking a certain way, it might be that phrase is just too much for a child, and they can't comprehend that yet. A really small example was, my daughter is now 18 months old, and she took hold of my hair and pulled it. And I was like, please please let go, that hurts. Please let go. And she looked at me puzzled, and and didn't do it. And then I said, open your hand. And she opened her hand. She wanted to let go, but she just didn't know what letting go meant. And the same thing I think applies to being messy as a child. So if you have been called messy, if you feel like you're messy, you are not a messy person. You just haven't figured out a way to organize that fits you and your personality style. So it actually could be that your parent explained how they always put away toys and they micro-organize them in all these little different categories. But maybe that's just not the way you organize. That's just not what works with your brain. Maybe you're more of a big picture thinker and you just need big baskets and buckets to organize your stuff in. This is so, when I found this out, this was so mind-blowing to me. I was like, I'm not messy. I just didn't know how to organize in a way that fitted me. So I really, really hope that this will help you. If you're interested in this at all, you can search for Cass the Clutter Bug. And she has this whole system with 4 organization styles. It's super interesting. But just know that because you've been called messy does not mean you are messy. I think she says you just organize differently. You're not a messy person, you just organize differently. And I love that. I love that. You just have to find what fits for you. The third one that especially girls get called so often, not boys, which is super interesting, and we can go into a long discussion about that whole difference, but is the term bossy. Think about it. How often have you heard a boy being called bossy? It's very interesting, isn't it? So, I've been called that too, and I also remember feeling like I had to shrink. I just had to be quiet and obedient and nice and kind and sweet and caring, because that's what little girls are supposed to do. And when I read an article about this, how calling a girl bossy is actually a really negative way of explaining the leadership qualities that girl has. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, they are leadership qualities. If you see girls that are being called bossy, they give very clear instructions. And of course it's like wobbly and not in a sophisticated way yet, because they're kids. Obviously that has to be fine-tuned, and that will happen just through development. But in the core, they are leadership qualities. So every girl that has been called, and maybe boys too, I'm just assuming here, but maybe boys get called bossy too. Every child that gets called bossy actually has leadership qualities. I mean, isn't that awesome? Because that, again, is a really good trait to have. It will bring you very far in your life, whatever you decide to do. So that was the third. The fourth is being difficult. Being difficult is also, it's so hard to hear as a child because you don't choose to be difficult. And what this actually means is that you were probably the one in your family that put up boundaries or expressed needs. And when people have learned that that's not safe for them, they will judge that in their child, and they will call you difficult just for having needs or having boundaries, which is such a healthy thing to have. It's such a healthy thing to have, and it's absolutely necessary for healthy relationships. You cannot have a healthy, thriving, intimate, beautiful, passionate relationship that has longevity if you don't put up boundaries and you don't express needs. So that's so important, and you have that gift because you did that as a child, and then you got called difficult, and then maybe you thought, oh, I shouldn't have boundaries and I shouldn't have needs. That's not the case. This was your parent or caregiver having difficulty with their own expression of needs and boundaries and projecting that onto you. So you go back to doing that. Express needs, express boundaries, and you will see that it will definitely help you have really healthy, beautiful, loving relationships. The fifth one, maybe you've been called too much in whatever way. And again, this also is a mirror back to your parent or caregiver, that being being fully you is triggering for the parent or caregiver that has learned that they have to play small, because then they're safe. So when you fully express yourself, that feels unsafe to the parent that has learned to play small, and then you can be called too much. The thing is, the more you are yourself, the more you will have the relationships, the friendships, the job, the life that fits you. But when you've learned that you are too much, you adapt into this smaller version of you, this more adapted version of you, and therefore you don't even really know who you are or what you want, but other people don't know that either. And you're afraid that if you show that, you will be too much and you will be abandoned. But what if you, being fully you, will give you the life, the friendships, the love, the job, the fulfillment in life that you've always searched for? You being fully you is the greatest gift that you can give the world, because you are not here on a coincidence. You are here for a reason. And the more you fully express yourself, the more the world is a beautiful place. The sixth one is being called dramatic or a drama queen. And again, I'm assuming that this is mostly girls, again, that are being called drama queens. I think boys are being told to man up, don't be a pussy. All of those are just bullying in a way, not cool, and actually very detrimental. But what you were doing was expressing your emotions. And there's not a thing, it's not possible to express your emotions too much. You just have these emotions and they need to be expressed. When a parent has learned that expressing emotions is unsafe because they get rejected, because other people will not accept it, or because you crying and being upset is actually triggering for them because they feel like they're failing, because you should always be happy if they're doing a good job, which is not true. Children just cry and are upset, and that's very healthy, and they need to do that and need to get that out of their system. But there's a lot of things that can upset a parent in a child crying or a child being upset, which then leads that parent or caregiver to calling you a drama queen or to man up, just because they cannot handle their own discomfort in that. So it wasn't you. Again, it wasn't you. It was your parents projecting onto you what they believe about themselves. There's a lot of, I mean, these are 7 reframes. There are so many more. But expressing your emotions is such an important and very healthy thing to do. You need to do that to be able to fully experience depth of love, of the beautiful things in life. It's very important to allow your feelings and emotions to be there. And before you now think that when you do that, you're like hysterically crying all the time, that's not true. That's actually not necessarily the natural way, but it might happen in the beginning as you start allowing your feelings and emotions more, because of so much pent up or stored up sadness. I remember when I started my relationship with Aryan, I was 20, and I hadn't cried since I was 13. That's when my uncle died, my favorite uncle in the whole wide world, and I had cried a little bit, but after that I just had been told so many times to, you know, that I was a drama queen or that I shouldn't cry, that I just didn't cry. Even though going through puberty for boys and girls is such a confusing time, right? I mean, there's so many emotions. So pressing that all down, repressing it, suppressing it, is a lot of effort. So when you start allowing your emotions, it can be that they come out like with a bang, and you hysterically cry. This is why you then get scared when that happens and you think, oh, so this is what happens when I allow my emotions. That's not true. That's just that stored up emotion that's coming out. You will notice that if you allow your emotions more and more and more, it will kind of stabilize, and you will cry because that's a very normal, healthy human thing to do, but it won't be hysterically crying because you just allow your emotions in the moment. So you have never been a drama queen or dramatic. You never had to man up or toughen up, because expressing emotions, feeling emotions, will allow you to feel all the wonderful things in life too, and actually really benefits healthy relationships. And then the last one, you might have heard the term attention seeker, that you were seeking attention and that was a bad thing because you have to be humble, you have to be quiet and obedient. Again, it's so interesting that so many of the things we want adults to be, like voice our opinion, come up for our rights, be strong and have confidence, that's not the things we want children to have. They have to be quiet and obedient and pliable. So that's interesting. But when you've been told that you are an attention seeker, it could be that you believe that that was wrong and you should just keep to yourself and don't show off or don't allow yourself to be seen. But the thing is, children won't turn to attention seeking when connection is available. So the other way around, when connection isn't available, loving, stable, safe connection with a parent or caregiver isn't available, children will turn to attention seeking, because that's the closest they can get to connection. So then they will resort to, mommy, daddy, look at me, look what I can do. And you start performing in a way. You start finding things to be good at, to show your parents that you're good at them so that you get praise. And that will give you kind of like a substitute for connection. When there is an abundance of connection available, a child will not, or way less, resort to attention seeking. So knowing that, you now know that it wasn't you. The fact that you maybe were attention seeking or your behavior was interpreted that way or labeled that way just meant that connection wasn't available. The deep, safe connection that you longed for, that you need as a child. That's really hard to not have as a child. And so your coping mechanism was to start attention seeking, which is brilliant. It's so logical that you do that. And you performed, you and your little body performed in every way you thought possible to get the praise that would give you a good feeling and that gave you a sense of connection. It was a logical thing to do. It wasn't you. You are not an attention seeker. So it is okay to show yourself. It is okay to ask for connection. That's a very normal and very human thing to do. And it's part of healthy relationships. So these were the 7 reframes. I'm really, really curious if you recognize any of these, if you've been told any of these, and whether this opens your mind to a different way of looking at yourself and maybe shedding all the shame and the guilt that you have felt about this. So let me know in the comments below. If you want to know if you're actually a fearful avoidant, you can do the quiz. It is linked in the description below. And if you want to get notified on when the course is available, please put your name on the wait list and I will email you as soon as it is available. I am so happy you are here and I will see you next time.